Good day, everyone. Well, today's the day. We're gonna take this thing out to the campground, offload it, and go through the break-in procedure. I'm so stoked. I can't wait. Talk to you in a bit. Well, here we are. We're at the campground. Feels awesome to be back. Kind of a crappy day, but the machine's got a heater in it. I got a half windshield that I think might fit it. Let's get her off the trailer and let the games begin. I had to drive it out front to the fuel station to fill the tank up with gas. Gas gauge was reading empty. She got up to about 86 degrees Celsius and the heater was blowing ice cold air. There's no coolant in the reservoir. There's nothing in that hose. I imagine it's just an airlock and heater core. I guess I'll burp it here first before I go for the break-in procedure. So it's taken a full liter so far. I've been running around watching the temperature of everything with a temp gun. Doesn't look like anything's getting firecracker hot. Engine's up to 85 degrees Celsius and the heater's blowing ice cold air. So just for some backstory, I had the dealership install Polaris heater kit. I just like the fit and finish, the vents, defrost, foot, the way the heater controls match up with the dash. But I gotta get this airlock bled out. Alright, so my thermostat opened once. It took a big drink of coolant. 91 degrees C on the engine. Starting to get some heat out of the heater vent. My cylinder head temp is 94 degrees C according to this gun. So I'm not fucking overheating it and splitting my cylinder head or anything. Hopefully this temperature on the heat vent keeps climbing. Well, we're going out for a ride. We're going to try to break in the cams, belt, brakes, all that stuff. But I just wanted to touch on something I've read online. A lot of people complaining about the noise coming out of one of these things. I'm going to tell you something. None of you ever owned a high lifter, apparently, a two-seat. This thing is a dream compared to that old high lifter of mine. I guess it's all relative. We'll get back to you shortly here. Okay, so we're back from a little break-in ride. I kind of prioritized the camshaft thing. Got her up in the 3,000-4,000 RPM, varying throttle. Got her going, so everything's looking good. Heater still isn't putting out the way I would like it to. Engine's warm right now, and she's just above the cold line, so I'm going to keep working at this airlock thing. But, yeah. What a machine. I bought it without ever driving one, so I was a little worried about being a lumbering station wagon. And it was. Then I looked down at the dashboard. She was in turf mode. And the throttle setting was in comfort. What a dog. I stopped, put it in two-wheel drive, put her up in sport mode, and holy Moses. For a big machine, this thing goes. You know, I guess it looks big because it's got the cab and everything on it, but wow, it took right off. It livened right up. Throttle response was great, especially in sport mode. That comfort mode was nice for loading it on the trailer and taking it off. But yeah, what a difference. I thought that was quite the gimmick. Why do you need 3 modes of throttle response? But I'll say this, putting it on the trailer and off the trailer was perfect. The sport mode probably be a little sketchy because this thing just rips in sport mode. I gotta say, I love this thing. Stereo just kicks. It's the JBL. It surrounds you with the music. It's got speakers everywhere, plus that big subwoofer down there. And I definitely need a windshield. That heater is useless without a windshield, but I didn't want to pay the price they were asking. The windshield I wanted was $650. The windshield wiper kit was $950. This is all Canadian, mind you. And I said to heck with it. I'm going to wait and see if the aftermarket comes out with something a little more affordable. I'd like a flip out, and maybe someday I'm just going to have to bite the bullet to do it. But I think this thing is going to be just fine. Here's some of the reasons I picked this. Sold my high lifter. I love mudding. That high lifter was the funnest machine. Drive it. You didn't have to know how to drive. You just pointed it into the mud hole and away you went. And just getting older, I'm tired of being covered in muskeg head to toe. Tired of wearing a rain suit while you're in the machine. Tired of your body being sore when you get out after a day of riding. I want to do the same thing, but I wanted to do it in comfort. So what I really wanted this year was a Polaris Ranger high lifter version. And grandkids they're getting old enough, they're going to start coming with us. I wanted a back seat. The Ranger's a little boxy for me, too farmerish. This, I think, is a nice crossover between a RZR and a Ranger. It's a happy medium. High lifter. Has high clearance suspension. I think it was 15 inches of ground clearance. This has all the high clearance suspension. The ground clearance on this, I think, is a half an inch less. But I'm going to get some 32-inch ITP cryptids for it. And throw those on and get my ground clearance back. One of the noise complaints that people have about this machine online is that it's the engine. It's revving too high because it's geared so low. Well, that's perfect for big mud tires. So one of the ways to get that RPM down is bigger tires. I'm going to go 32-inch tires, mud tires. The low gearing should help with the power, not smoking the belt. And I'm just going to say this too about the noise. If you had a 2-seater RZR before driving one of these, this noise is not bad. It's relative to what you drove before you bought this machine, I guess. But yeah, no, this thing is quiet for me. My old high lifter had the snorkels right up by your head. So you were listening to your clutches, you were listening to the transmission whine. These old spur gears and those old Polaris transmissions were noisy as hell. This thing is not like that. It is like driving a half-ton luxury pickup for me compared to that old high lifter. The next thing that makes this a decent mudding machine is your air intakes are up here. So this one, I believe, I'll have to follow the piping. This one's for the clutch on the driver's side. And I think this one's going to have to be the engine. Looks like it goes in there, swoops around to the other side to your air filter housing. Now, because I bought an XP instead of a North Star, I've got an extra one right here. And it goes up to here. And of course, Polaris, you know, the one snorkel that's missing is the clutch exhaust housing one right down there. And they're using it to blow air across this exhaust manifold and try and keep it cool. So, being the tight, confined space that it is in here, I kind of don't want to lose that. But I am going to snorkel that. I think what I'm going to do is come up with a different system for cooling off that part of the engine bay. On my old high lifter, the RZR, this was wide open. You could stand to have some heat up in that area, but this one kind of scares me a little bit. This box isn't made of very good plastic. I don't want to melt it, even though there is a heat shield here. I'm going to buy one of those aftermarket clutch blowers that they used to put on the razors. Chunk of pipe. See if I can't move air across that exhaust manifold. Keep the back of the passenger's bay nice and cool. Avoid fires. And I'm gonna have to get someone to fabricate that out of aluminum into a round pipe that I can plumb up and around and back over to this unused snorkel housing here. Then I'll just go through and make sure the differential vent, transmission vent, engine crankcase vent, make sure all of that is plumbed up high enough. And that'll all be sealed up. One thing I'm very curious about is your clutch cover housing. On the older stuff, you had to take those off and reseal them where they met the transmission and the crankcase. Kind of curious as to what's in behind that inner aluminum housing. I'm thankful for that aluminum housing instead of plastic. And you know what? I'm just going to find out the hard way. I'm not going to gut this thing completely just to find out that, oh, it's got a beautiful sealing system back there. So I'll take my time on that one. Learn from experience like I did with my last machine. Don't know what I think of that air filter housing for being waterproof. I don't think Polaris designed it for what I'm gonna do with it. But again, drive it, take it apart, check it, experiment, figure it out. Overall though, I love this machine. The stereo kicks. The seated position for a big guy like me, I'm 6'2", 300 pounds. Comfortable. Telescoping steering wheel, tilt steering wheel. I love the gauges. I love everything about it. But we'll get back to you with some more reports here. I've only got about a half hour into it so far. And then we'll let you know how my new adventure goes. The next reasons I went for Xpedition after owning a high lifter, thinking I'm going to convert this Xpedition to somewhat of a high lifter, is storage. Look at that. But this isn't the exact kit I'm going to run back here. In our old high lifter, we had this beautiful Gemco storage box. You could put a lot of stuff in it, but it was jam-packed. Now we got a back seat. We throw our rain gear in there if we need to. Tools, spare parts, and the amount of storage accessories Polaris sells for these Xpeditions is amazing. You can get the Rhino racks, you can get the bed extenders, you can get all kinds of stuff. Just another bonus. I can't wait to get these mounted. I'm going to get the floor mounts, or wall mounts, Milwaukee calls it, and latch down some of these babies. And we'll be packing our stuff like crazy. Just coming back around to my heater issue. I think I've got the airlock bled out of it. It took about 1.5 liters of coolant. I'm gonna take it for another ride, see if it takes any more coolant. But on the North Star, this guy right here is your air intake for your air conditioning and your heater. Usually, yeah, it has an air filter on it, but if you look inside this one, she's blocked off. I'm gonna have to do some home research there and see if I need to drill that out or what gives there, or if it just doesn't attach to the heater kit. This thing is sure-footed. I guess it's because it's a 4-seater and I'm used to a 2-seater, but it's been climbing these little hills and washouts just like a dream. Seems like it's got engine braking a lot more than my old Razor did too. That's a pretty nice feature. hope this new machine fits in here with both those e-bikes in there. I'd hate for my wife's e-bike to have to sit outside.